love that Markiplier. He's such a card.
Oh yeah, he's so hilarious. This is what we got here. Hey there, Bright Eyes. What you doing?
Hey,
you
buddy. What's with the camera?
Don't you worry about the camera. Oh hey, is that History of the World? Is that the video game thing?
No.
When you making more of the History of the World?
No, that ain't me.
That ain't you? Oh, it's such a shame because so much history to talk about in the video games, don't you think?
Look, Mel Brooks did it in one.
Yeah, hey, you ain't no Mel Brooks. There's a script, Mr. Video Games. Nah, son of a something. I'm going to Stucky's.
Hey, I'm Joan.
And I'm Travis.
While companies like Sega continued to develop on what would become the arcade cabinet, crude, cheap displays with basic controls and reaction times, it would really take a breakthrough for video games to be accepted by the public. And while there were several attempts made by major industries, it would continue to be seen as cost prohibitive, especially at an entire quarter per play in the old-fashioned penny arcade.
It would take a major change. It would take a major change in the industry for such an expense to be seen as viable and marketable, and that chance would come almost entirely by accident due to one man.
Ever wanted to do something just because you thought you could? In a way, that's how video games progressed. It was less to do with entertaining people, and more a sort of, look what I can do with the technology. Keeping that in mind, today we're going to look at Sanders Associates Incorporated, a military defense company.
Who the what now?
Trust me, it'll make sense in a minute. In 1951, Ralph Baer was a busy man. He worked in electronics, and at one point during his stint at Laurel, was asked to build the best television set in the world. He came up with the idea of playing games on TV screens, but his boss didn't care for it. Hindsight is 20/20, huh?
It would come to a day like any other day for Baer. On September 1st, 1966, Baer would write up a proposal document for Sanders Associates, which is now on display at the Smithsonian, might I add, that would go over the basic concepts of a device that would allow people to play games on a regular home television. At the time, he was only tasked with coming up with unique ways to make a television stand out from the market. The creation of this document was standard practice, a way to protect what was at the time just an idea. One of several, in fact.
His supervisors liked the idea this time. Baer was given $2,500 and was able to pull together a small team. Bill Harrison, and later Bill Rush, an engineer and technician working for him at Sanders Associates.
Together, they would eventually produce the Brown Box, a multiplayer, multi-program video game system. It was called the Brown Box due to the brown tape that they wrapped around the unit to make it resemble wood, because you couldn't have technology in the 1970s without a wood grain finish. It was designed with swappable game cartridges in mind, which was pretty revolutionary at the time. Most hardware was single-purpose and used by design. There was even a light gun accessory, which was the first of its kind to work on a television.
The idea was to have a cheap, simple set of hardware that could be played at home. Demonstrations were made to TV set manufacturers including RCA, GE, Zenith, Sylvania, Magnavox, Warwick, Sears, but nobody seemed interested.
Well, RCA had a written license agreement made, but it was later canceled.
It would finally take Magnavox in 1972 to purchase Baer's Brown Box, recommissioning it and its light gun peripheral as the Magnavox Odyssey. And so came the first generation of home video gaming. Magnavox took to promoting and distributing this new product quickly, gaining the endorsement of the likes of Frank Sinatra as spokesman.
This is Odyssey, the new electronic game simulator. You attach Odyssey to your television set in seconds to create a closed-circuit electronic playground. Odyssey is tennis, roulette, football and hockey, analogic, and geography. Odyssey comes complete with 12 electronic games and educational experiences. Many more are optionally available, like a shooting gallery, a prehistoric safari. Odyssey is an electronic teacher. Odyssey is a total play and learning experience for all ages. Odyssey. It's new from Magnavox. Odyssey.
So that commercial seems pretty cool, right? I mean, other than the creepy voice telling us just what the Odyssey is. I swear it was seconds away from telling us about the candy hat in his van. Meanwhile, describing the gameplay of the original Odyssey is, well...
So, you're given two controllers. Each one creates a bright white shape on the screen. You plug in your game cart, the unit turns on, playing the game plugged in. Now, I should state for the record, there is no real artificial intelligence in these games. It was simply unheard of for the time. Instead, you were usually competing with your friends in things like makeshift mazes and board games. There was one game that did stand out for having actual on-screen interaction. The game, marked 1, had a ball you could bounce back and forth between the two paddles. It certainly had its problems, though. There were no constraints on how you moved your paddles, there was no scoring system, and at times the game simply refused to reset properly.
Doesn't this look like something kind of big, important?
Shh, we'll talk about it later. If we start now, we'll be here all day. So let's talk about the controller instead.
It's crap.
Seriously?
I'm being serious, it's crap on stilts.
That's your technical analysis?
It's two turn wheels and a hard metal base with a thick cord sticking out of it. It was clunky. There are no buttons and it hurts your hand to use.
So an early prototype of the N64 controller.
It was me in the R-Zone, maybe.
Was there anything good about it then?
Well, let's talk about the light gun then. It certainly stood as a marvel of the time, and the first home console peripheral that was not a set of knobs and buttons. The light gun registered to white light, so you aimed it at the other player's cursor, it would register a hit. There are several games with overlays that had the first person shooting the second player's cursor. However, this always required the use of a second player. This too started the trend of kid brother girlfriend mode, wherein you get someone else to play the part of the game you didn't want to play so that they feel included.
If you haven't been sold, neither were the good people of the 70s. The Odyssey did not sell well, partially because it was boring. It didn't help that the sticker price was astronomical for the time. Bear had expected his console to sell at $20, a reasonable price. Magnavox sold the console for $100. People simply weren't biting.
Translates to roughly $575 in 2016 money. For that price today, you could own your own VR headset, even pick up a few games for it. But that's a whole step ahead of where we're going.
2 sticks, 1 ball, and a cultural phenomenon
Yiggity.
would change all expectations of gaming.
You said stick.
Stay tuned.
Wake up all alone at night, reaching for the side of bed. There ain't no one there at all, so I reach for the bottle instead. I'm alone again. I'm alone at last. I'm alone again. I'm alone.